A long time ago, there once lived a king and a queen. One day the queen gave birth to a boy. They called him Prince Siddhartha. The king and the queen were very happy as they had wished for a boy for so long. They invited a wise old fortune teller to come to the kingdom to predict the child's fortune. "Please tell us," said the queen to the wise old man, "what will our son grow up to be?" "Your son will be a special child," he said. "One day he will become a great king." The father was overjoyed with happiness. "He will be a king like me." "But," said the wise man, "when the child grows up he might abandon the palace because he wants to help people." King said, "He will do no such a thing," yelled to the wise man while he yanked the child away from the man. "He will be a great king just like me." And so the king watched over his son. All the time he made sure that his son always had the best of everything. He wanted Siddhartha to enjoy his life as a prince. He wanted him to become king. One day, and when the prince turned 7 years old, his father called him and said to his son Siddhartha, "One day you will be king. It is time that you start preparing. There are many things you need to learn. Here are the best professors in the world. They will teach you everything you need to know." "Thank you, father, I will do my best," answered the prince. Siddhartha began his lessons, and he was a great pupil. He didn't learn to read and write, but rather how to ride a horse, how to wield a bow and arrow, how to fight and use a sword. These were the skills that a brave king might need. Prince Siddhartha learned his lessons, well, just like his cousin Devadatta, because both of the boys were of the same age. And all the time the king had always an eye on his son. "My son is so strong, so smart, such a quick learner. He will become a great and famous king." And one day when the Prince Siddhartha finished his lessons, he always liked to play in the garden of the palace. There lived all kinds of animals: squirrels, rabbits, birds, and deer. Siddhartha liked to watch them. He could sit and observe them so quietly and still that they were not afraid of getting close to him. Siddhartha liked playing near the lake, and each year a pair of beautiful white swans came to nest there. He watched them closely, crouching behind some trees. He wanted to know how many eggs there were in the nest because he liked to watch the chicks learn how to swim. One afternoon Siddhartha was at the lake and suddenly he heard his sound above him. He looked up. 3 beautiful swans were flying above him. "More swans," thought Siddhartha. "I hope they nest in our lake." But just at that moment one of the swans fell from the sky. "Oh no!" shouted Siddhartha as he ran towards the swarm, which fell. "What happened?" "There's an arrow in your wing," he said. "Someone has hurt you." Siddhartha spoke to the bird very softly so that it wouldn't be frightened. He started caressing, and sweetly, very delicately, he removed the arrow. He took his shirt off and wrapped it around the swan carefully. "You'll be just fine very soon," he said. "I will see you later." At exactly that moment his cousin Devadatta ran up. "That is my swan," he shouted. "I hit it, so give it to me." "It doesn't belong to you," said Siddhartha. "It is a wild swan. I hit him with my arrow, so it is mine. Give it to me now." "No," said Siddhartha. "It is wounded and we have to help it." The 2 boys started arguing. "Stop," said Siddhartha. "In our kingdom, if people can't come to an agreement on something, they ask the king for help. So let's go and look for him." Now the 2 boys went out looking for the king. "Don't you see how busy we are? Go play someplace else. We haven't come to play. We have come to ask you for help," said Siddhartha. "Wait," exclaimed the king. "When you heard this, don't turn them away. They are within their right to ask for our help." He was impressed that Siddhartha knew how to act in such a situation. "Let the boys tell us their story. We will listen and give them our verdict first." Devadatta told his version of the story. "I heard this one. It belongs to me." The ministers nodded in agreement. That was the law of the kingdom. An animal or a bird belonged to the person who managed to harm it. Then Siddhartha told his version of the story. "The swan is not dead," he argued. "He is hurt, but he is still alive." The ministers were perplexed. "Who did the swan belong to?" "I think I can help you," said a voice. Everyone turned around, and an old man walked through the door. "If this one could talk," Said the old man, it would tell us that it wants to fly and swim with the other wild swans. Nobody wants to feel pain or death the same as felt by the swan. The swan wouldn't go with he who tried to kill it, he would go with he who tried to help it. The whole time Devadatta remained in silence. He had never thought about animals like that animals had feelings too. He was so sorry for having hurt to the bird. Devadatta, you can help me take care of the bird, if you'd like, said Siddhartha. So the two boys cared for the swan until he was well again. But one day when his wing had healed completely, he took him to the river. It is time for us to part, said Siddhartha. And so Siddhartha and Devadatta watched as the swan swam towards deep waters. In that moment, they heard the sound of wings above them. Look, said Devadatta, the others have returned for her. The swan flew high into the sky and joined her friends. Then they all flew over the lake one last time. They are saying thank you, said Siddhartha. As the swans faded into the mountains in the north, you see, in life for all of us there comes the day when we are born the second time. The first time we are born is our physical birth, our greeting into this new world, and the second time we are born is when we find our place in our community, in our society. In this moment, Siddhartha showed his blessed soul that he had compassion with every living being on this planet. And so if you are struggling to find or to make sense of your life, maybe you haven't been born the second time, yet always remember it is your life and you can make out of it what you want. But be good to others, and others will be good to you in this life with this law of karma. For more videos, like, share and subscribe.